Have you ever heard of the sinking of the Rainbow Warrior? Picture this. You're lying in the cabin of your ship. It's close to midnight. The port outside is quiet. The water gently babbles against the hull. When all of a sudden, the whole ship shakes. Was there a collision? Quickly, the water starts roaring at your feet. As you escape to the dock, a second thud. This is no collision. The ship that you've spent the past months on, that was going to lead the biggest blockade of nuclear weapons tests to date, sinks within minutes. Your friend and crew member Fernando Pereira does not make it off the ship. Sounds crazy, right? But it's true. In 1985, the French Secret Service sinks the Rainbow Warrior, a ship by Greenpeace that is planning to block the nuclear tests in the Pacific Ocean. The action sparks an international outcry and puts the diplomatic relations of supposed allies to the test. Let's find out the background, what exactly happened, and the considerable consequences of the operation. In the 1980s, the Cold War is at its apex. A large part of this concerns nuclear weapons, of course. France uses the Morora Atoll in French Polynesia in the Pacific Ocean to test its warheads. As a result, the native population is showing increased rates in cancer and birth defects. This, combined with the threats of weapons of mass destruction to the world peace, results in demands to stop the experiments. 13 years before the bombing, Greenpeace had already sailed a small yacht into the exclusion zone to stop the testing. The first time, they got rammed by the French Navy and detained. The second time, special agents actually went aboard the ship and beat up the sailors so bad that they had to go to the hospital. One even lost vision in one of his eyes for several months to come. Skip forward to 1985. After several decades of testing nuclear warheads at a complete disregard for the native population and local wildlife, Greenpeace will take its flagship and drive it into the exclusion zone to come together with a bunch of other ships to finally stop the testing. The difference this time is that the 420-ton large ship is a considerable worthy opponent for the French Navy. It also has radio equipment on board that allows it to talk to the outside world and inform the press about what's happening. Furthermore, because it has been fitted with sails, it has a considerable longevity, it does not have fuel problems. All in all, this time around, Greenpeace came to stay. The French have been taught about the tenacity of Greenpeace and know to take the threat of the new vessel seriously. But no one expects what drastic lengths they are willing to go to. Over the course of several months, 13 agents of the French Secret Service come to New Zealand to infiltrate Greenpeace and plan the bombing meticulously. On the night of the 10th of July 1985, the crew is throwing a birthday party for a member. Unbeknownst to them, just a few meters below them, divers are attaching 2 detonation charges to the hull of the ship. Just before midnight, the first bomb detonates. It rips a hole the size of a car into the engine room, larger than the agents had planned. It also sends shrapnel through the upper decks of the ship. Had the crew not celebrated their birthday, they would have been hit in their sleeping compartments. Quickly, the ship begins to take water. As the crew evacuates, a few minutes later, the second charge goes off. Photographer Fernando Pereira, trying to receive his camera equipment, gets knocked unconscious and drowns in the ship. The bombing is followed by a worldwide outcry. The Prime Minister of New Zealand calls it a terrorist act and breach of international law on a sovereign land. Many New Zealanders had fought and died in rushing to France's aid during World War II. Now they watch in shock as France first denies involvement for weeks and then brings its detained agents back home under the threat of trade embargoes. Analysts named the bombing a catalyst in New Zealand's history. For one, because it strongly heightens anti-nuclear sentiment, laying the groundwork for New Zealand as an anti-nuclear weapons state, but also due to the reaction by others. Supposed allies like Britain and the United States failed to support them in reprimanding France for its breach of sovereignty. On the contrary, they rather criticized New Zealand's following anti-nuclear sentiment. So, as a secondary effect, a more independent and self-reliant New Zealand rises from the incident. The bombing of the Rainbow Warrior is a perfect example of how seemingly small actions can have wide-ranging consequences that last for decades to come.